I'm so excited to share this with you. It is a great topic. You are going to feel so empowered to take control, and we're going to release some conditioning that you have that is creating potentially some issues for you. So, we are going to be diving into gene expression, and it's a absolute changer for you. So, my name is Amy Jorgensen, and my purpose and passion is helping people find their joy again because we all get into these spaces where we're just, right? Emotional yuckiness. The thing is, our bodies are this beautiful energy source, but our emotions control and dictate how our body is responding. So, if you're in this place where you're like, man, I'm just, I'm struggling because I'm always sick and I have all these symptoms and I've been diagnosed. There's so much playing into that with your subconscious. And so I teach people how to take control of that. And what an amazing thing it is. So we're going to dive right into this looking at gene expression. So these are conditioning things. I like to call these toxic phrases or negative core beliefs. If you've worked with me as a client in my 3-step process, which is using ELV to release negative toxic phrases, negative core beliefs, things that have become truth for you, things that have become your reality, whether you even realize it or not, because so often our subconscious is doing things we have no idea cognitively. Like there's such a disconnection between your cognitive and your subconscious mind. So we tap into that. And then we always want to focus on the now. If you've watched some of my other things like bringing our energy in. So when your energy starts to get pulled, that's when you have issues. So think of it like this: energy attached to your past because you're connecting things that are happening now to things that have happened before. And then you also are sending energy into the future because you're worried and anticipating what's going to happen. So we want to bring those in. We want to not worry about what happens in the past, and we want to not be worried about things that are happening in the future because we can focus on the now. And so I use and teach human design because that is allowing you to connect with your authentic self. You learn how to be you instead of trying to fit into this mold that everyone has taught you that you should be. So instead of looking at things that we do as a negative part of my personality, I teach you how to use it to your advantage. It's not about changing who you are, it's about aligning with who you are. Because when you recognize that this is specifically how you were designed, you make it so that you align with the things that you need to do instead of trying to force yourself into these boxes. And it's just incredible, incredible way to live. So let's talk about the third step, which is manifesting, because we got to get that future state, right? But we don't want to be freaking out about what's happening in the future. And yes, manifesting, what does that mean? So I was taught, right, I'm going to make a vision board and I'm going to write some like post-it notes all over with some affirmations. I'm going to read them all day long. And then eventually my brain's going to become rewired. I'm going to believe what I read to some extent, but there's so much more to it than that. We changed the wording that we use. And then we also teach ourselves how to access unlimited possibilities by tapping into quantum energy, which is a beautiful thing, but that's in another topic. So let's focus right now on this gene expression. So hear the phrase, it's just my DNA, right? I get it from my mom. How many times have you been asked when you're filling out like a form at a doctor's office, or you're taking some kind of thing, and they're like, hey, does anyone in your family have XYZ? What do you think that does? That instills in my head specific beliefs because I create my own reality. All right. Statistics show that you're more likely to have XYZ if maybe you're watching a show. Maybe you're watching a show, and there's like an infomercial and it's talking about a specific new, pharmaceutical that's out. And they're like, oh, statistics show that if you're a female or a male in the ages of blah, 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 living in blah, 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 right? And so then your subconscious is hearing it. And so I always tell you, like, be so careful about what you're hearing, what you're seeing, what you're saying, because your cells are always listening to what is going on and they respond accordingly. Okay, so what if we combine all of these? Because you probably read each one of them and you're like, wow, I've heard probably all of this before. Um, all these toxic phrases combine. And so it's like becoming this like this specific belief, right? My mom has been diagnosed with this disease. My mom's mom also has it, and so did her mom. And statistics show that because I'm also a female and I'm age whatever, that I'm more likely to have XYZ. Wow. Hello. Do you see what I'm talking about? I have just confirmed to my subconscious that I need to align myself to actually have this happen. Okay. So toss that out. I'm going to show you why. I'm going to show you why. Okay. So you're not at the mercy of your genes. Okay. You've just been conditioned to believe that you're just this pre-programmed being and you're here and whatever's going to happen is what's going to happen because you don't have a choice. And first of all, we're going to uncondition you from that belief because you're not just predisposition to have this thing. Okay. Here's why. Genes do not create the illness, which is what you've been taught. You've just been taught you have this gene, you have the gene for XYZ, therefore that is what's going to happen to you. It's your environment that creates what's going on, okay? There's science behind this, beautiful science behind this that shows how this works. So think of it like this. Your internal environment plus your external environment, lots of environments there, right? What's going on around you is the trigger for how your genes respond. So I'm not necessarily saying it's not there, but you can control how your genes are going to respond to stuff. So how exactly does this work? It's pretty simple. We're going to go into a deeper understanding in a second, but just putting it in there in simplistic terms, you react to something in your environment, okay? And an emotion is created, and an emotion is simply a chemical. Think about how you feel when you have an emotion. You know, if I'm really super happy and I'm feeling lots of gratitude, I can feel that. I can feel that in my body. Same with if I'm feeling really sad or I have lots of grief. Now, this chemical reaction is even stronger if I have something in the past that I'm attaching it to. So if I have had this happen before, it's almost like a little boost for that emotional chemical because I'm attaching it to something that's happened. Okay, so this creates a signal that basically your gene is going to respond to. So depending on the emotion, your gene is going to be turned on or off, and it's how it is expressing itself. So the gene doesn't necessarily change, but how is it expressing itself does. That's why, let's say that, I have a sibling that is the same gender. Maybe, they have been affected by going clear back to the first slide where we talked about my mom has it, whatever, whoever has it, why is my sibling showing symptoms of this, but I'm not, right? So it's just depending on like what we've been through, different emotions, different chemicals. So let's look at it a little deeper. Okay. So cells. Cells are responsible for our physical structure and our body functions. Cells make specific proteins, and a protein is equal to the health of our body. Now, of course, I'm keeping this very simplistic. It's a lot more scientific than that, but just to make it easy for us to understand, because we get our cognitive mind aligned with some awareness. That's how we change things for ourselves. Okay. So in order for a cell to create a protein, a gene has to be expressed. So we kind of get into the space where if the information coming into the gene completely remains the same over time, this gene just basically begins to break down and the protein expression will wear out. So we also get into these places where we're like in this cycle where you can't get out of it. So I used to do this thing where I would literally go to bed at night worried about something. And then I would wake up in the morning and I would momentarily, for that split second when I wake up, I wouldn't be worried about the thing that I went to bed worried about. But it's almost like your body gets so addicted to that anxious anxiety and that fight or flight adrenaline rush that I would wake up and start thinking about, wait, I know I'm stressed out about something. What was it again? And it's like this reminder, right? And so every time I do that, every time I re-feel that emotion, I'm expressing that to my gene again. And so it's like over and over. I need a healthy gene to be expressed in order to heal and change. So if I'm continually bringing in this response from my gene that is an unhealthy expression, then I'm just going to remain the same. And literally, I have all this stress and all this hormones and all this stuff going on. I'm just going to start to rust away. And then depending on where chemicals are affecting my body, that's why I'm going to see different symptoms for myself than another person would that maybe went through the same, because we layer our issues. So we layer these emotions, we layer our traumas over time. And then they like to coagulate in little spots in our bodies that happen to be a little bit weak. So that's where they go. And then they express themselves differently. Okay. So you feel stuck because literally you're staying in the same rut because your genetic expression is the same unless you do something to change it. So, dear Amy, how do I change my genetic expression? Changing your emotions changes the expression of your genes. You have a different chemical from a different emotion. So anger versus gratitude is a completely different chemical reaction. It's a completely different vibration. So how I am responding to a specific event. So remember when I talked about my 3-step system, ELV helps us to remove things from our subconscious that create specific triggers, because I don't want to be anchored to my past, because then every single time I run into something that's similar, I connect it and I think about that event, and my mind, it doesn't actually differentiate between the actual physical event happening and my thinking of that. So let's say that I was in a car accident and specific emotions and chemicals were released back in that car accident. If I think about it and I haven't done any work around this and I think about it and I relive it, I still have the same exact chemical reactions from emotions, just like I was there. So it's that replaying, and I'm affecting my genes and how they're expressed. So that's why we use the ELF system to stop anchoring ourselves to that space. Okay. That way we can successfully recondition our mind and we can change how our genes are expressed, and we can be healthy. We can start that process of bringing our bodies back to this beautiful balanced state where we're not just oxidizing away. Okay. How beautiful is that? Right. And then we take charge of our now space, like I said, by understanding our human design, because people just drill that into you. Get out of your comfort zone. That's the way to success. What if I told you that for some of you it is? For some of you it is, you've got to get out of your comfort zone if you want to progress. For some of you, that is not the appropriate action to take for you to be successful. So you're going to just continue to fight through that for the rest of your life and flounder, because that's not how you're designed. You don't take an old farm truck to the racetrack, because that's not what it's designed to do. But do you take a race car to the farm to haul hay? No. See where I'm going with that? So you align with exactly how things work for you. Okay. So I love this little phrase. And I just want you to I want you to read it and then just think, let it think, let it marinate in whatever it brings for you. So overthink the way you feel, not overthinking the way you feel. All right. Now, if you're like, this is great stuff, I'm going to tell you, I have more in-depth on how to do all this. Now, I like to be available to everyone. That's part of my purpose and my passion, is because I get it. You're all in different stages in your journey. You're all in different stages of your life. And so you'll see that I offer one-on-one sessions. I offer courses through the Soul Centered Academy. So you can buy a course and you can do it in your own time, depending on how you like to learn. I have a human design course. I also have a group. So if you happen to be a practitioner in the world of energy work, I have this really cool group where I do an in-depth training monthly, and then I'm available to mentor, and I do weekly and daily little posts on things that you can use with your clients to clear. Maybe you haven't thought about it, but I'll post something about, hey, work on clearing passive aggressive energy, because we deal with passive aggressive energies with ourselves. We deal with passive aggressive energies with other people. And so there's that beautiful group as well. Then I also do lives weekly. So, even if you're stressed for resources, you can always hop on a live. My main thing here is to just do more than motivate, right? So lots of people can motivate by talking and bringing in all this energy, but I like to also show you beautiful ways in which you can actually take some action to make things happen for yourself. And so there you go. Bless be. Here's my info. Feel free to reach out to me. And I hope that you have a wonderful, beautiful rest of your day, whatever it is for you. And I will talk to you next time.